as I mentioned, there were some big cuts that were made, with Mike Macdonald, running the show as the head coach, with John Schneider having full control over the team. It's a new era for the Seahawks in a lot of different respects. And that includes having to make some different decisions that will affect the cap space. With the league's cap space going up, Seattle did get some relief there. Geno Smith's contract was moved around a little bit. There's another contract that was adjusted as well that we will talk about here in a minute. But on March 5th, the Seahawks did make 3 major cuts. Safety Jamal Adams, other safety Quandre Diggs, and tight end Will Dissly were all cut from the team. I believe Will Dissly was a post-June 1st cut, so his contract, the money will be spread out a little bit over the next few seasons. Combined, the releases of these 3 will save the team $34.5 billion in cash, as well as over $24 million in salary cap space. So those moves do come just a week before the start of the new league year and the beginning of free agency, as I mentioned, March 13th. So watch out for that day. It'll be big. I mean, you're looking at Adams and Diggs when the team has been healthy. Those have been the starting safeties. Obviously, Diggs coming over in a 2019 trade, started 72 games in 4+ seasons. Every game in each of the past 4 years, starter. Earned Pro Bowl honors in 3 of those years, from 2020 to 2022, a feat that was made all the more impressive by the fact that he did suffer a serious leg and ankle injury in the final game of 2021 that did require surgery. Adams was obviously a major name, considering the fact that he was acquired by the Jets for a few first-round picks. That was such a big acquisition. Had a record-breaking year in his 2020 season, earned Pro Bowl and second-team All-Pro honors that year after setting a NFL record for sacks by a defensive back with 9.5. But injuries really couldn't stay on the field. There was some off-the-field stuff as well that angered some folks. His tenure with Seattle will always be remembered uniquely, whether it be by, the concussion stuff where he was yelling at the concussion doctor on the field at the New York game this year, the Twitter stuff where he said yikes to a reporter's wife. It was a lot, in addition to the fact that Seattle gave up a lot of draft capital in order to acquire him. Appeared in just 22 games over 3 seasons, including 10 of the past 2 years, after tearing his quadriceps tendon in the 2022 season opener. So tough there. A lot of folks won't like that, again, because of the draft capital, because of the way he was off the field with some of those things. And because Seattle didn't really use him that well. He was not strictly a coverage safety. It was more of an in-the-box kind of safety, and Seattle really didn't use him into his best ability in that regard. Will Dissly was a fan favorite for a lot of different reasons. Drafted in the 4th round of 2018 out of the University of Washington, so having a pro dog on the team was nice. He fought through a few significant injuries in his first 2 seasons. There was some wonder if he was going to be able to produce at the NFL level after these injuries, whether it was tearing his patella tendon as a rookie and then his Achilles in his second year. And then he really became a mainstay for the Seahawks offense as a blocking tight end. After playing only 10 games in those first 2 years, he appeared in at least 15 games each of the past 4 seasons, starting in 55 of 62 games from 2020 to 2023. So tough there. I mean, when you look at it, it's, again, as I started the segment off, with Schneider, having full control with Macdonald as the head coach, I mean, the team is going to look different. There are some guys who will probably be cut that, have been around with the team for a while. Obviously, with these 3 releases, it's big name news. In a radio interview, Mike Macdonald did say it was possible that these guys could come back at some point. They didn't fully shut the door on that. But, I mean, with the money that Adams was making, I don't see Adams coming back, truthfully, unless it's on a lot smaller of a deal. And maybe after the struggles that he's had here in Seattle, he wants a change of scenery. I wouldn't blame him on that. Diggs, I mean, it's been tough the last few years with the Seahawks defense. I don't think they were put in the best position to succeed given the talent that they had on the roster. I put a little bit of that on Clint Hurt, but, the team themselves might feel a different way considering that they are in the locker room. I wouldn't mind seeing Diggs back, truthfully. Dissly, I mean, it's kind of limited just with the injuries he suffered. Didn't really have the same burst that he did initially as a rookie, and that makes sense. You deal with a patella tendon that will mess you up. and same with an Achilles injury as well. Plus, I mean, having Noah Fant and Colby Parkinson, maybe the team wants to go more athletic in that regard. So they're not necessarily surprising releases, truthfully. I mean, maybe a little bit of a shock factor. And you see, Will Dissly was cut just because he's, been a hometown guy, this and that. But in the end of the day, I'm not too shocked by all of that. So in addition to those cuts on the 5th, the Seahawks restructured Tyler Lockett's contract on the 9th. The veteran Seahawks receiver had reworked his deal, ending speculation. There was some thought maybe he would be a cap casualty about that. He's currently the longest tenured offensive player on the team. He's had his contract restructured. So he's remaining with Seattle on a restructured deal, 2 years, $30 million with a maximum value of $34 million with nearly $13 million guaranteed this year. So his cap hits were set to be just under $27 million each of the next 2 seasons. But so now his cap hit for this upcoming year will be just about cut in half, which was pretty big. There was some thought that maybe he'd be a cap casualty given, Seattle trying to rework the cap. Again, new era, as I mentioned. He's 31 years old. The team did draft Jackson Smith-Njigba last year. But Lockett's been a mainstay. He's been such a consistent guy. I mean, if you watched the show week by week through this past season, how many times we picked Tyler Lockett to be our offensive player of the game was just about every week. He's one of the greatest receivers in team history, funny enough. He's behind only Steve Largent for the Seahawks all-time spot in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. He's been efficient even when he doesn't get the ball at the time. Excuse me, goodness. And he was drafted to be a kick returner, funny enough, out of Kansas State. So just really glad that was able to get done and that Tyler Lockett didn't end up being a cap casualty of some sort or some way. So as I mentioned, March 13th is when free agency starts. It will be very interesting to see what Seattle does when that hits. There might be some other cuts, maybe a trade here and there. Some people have speculated around Dre'Mont Jones. I don't really put a lot of stock into that, considering the fact that he's only been here a short amount of time. And again, with as much talent as the Seahawks defense has and has had, I don't really take a lot of stock into a lot of blame on them. I would like to see how Dre'Mont Jones does in Mike McDonald's defense, but I expect some big moves to be made just considering the cap space that's being opened up for the team here. So as I mentioned, March 13th, that's a date to look at for the Seahawks and for when free agency starts. So